A new report indicates that people living on military bases throughout the country were consuming drinking water that had a chemical that could lead to serious health consequences, including liver cancer, liver disease, I should say, weight gain, and also cancer. So this is a report that the Trump administration tried to prevent the release of, but now that it has been released, unfortunately, no one's really talking about it, and it disproportionately impacts our military members who live on military bases with their families, because some of the materials that they use in their training contains this chemical, and it seeps into their drinking water. So a division of the Department of Health and Human Services quietly published its 852-page review of PFAS, which are used in everything from carpets and frying pan coatings to military firefighting foams. Now, the military firefighting foams is exactly what is seeping into the drinking water. This is something that they use during their training exercises, and the foam does make its way into the water. So people, the report offers the most comprehensive gathering of information on the effects of these chemicals and suggests that they're actually far more dangerous than previously thought. So back in the day, the US government said, all right, if there are 70 parts per trillion of this chemical in the water, then anything past that is unsafe. It could lead to serious health consequences. However, after studying it further, they found that it's actually much lower, 7 to 11 parts per trillion. So A, the previous studies were wrong, and B, now we know that there's a lot more of this chemical in the drinking water that's disproportionately impacting our soldiers, and the Trump administration tried to hide the data about it because they wanted to avoid a PR nightmare. What the Trump administration didn't realize is that the mainstream media doesn't care about these kinds of stories and doesn't report on these kinds of stories, so they didn't have to worry about the PR nightmare. But we're at least reporting on it.
So there's a part of the story which I feel a little embarrassed by, because this doesn't happen that often, but I was naive about this one. I legitimately did not understand it. I was like, well, look, it's not a thing that the Trump administration created, so it's actually fairly easy to say, oh, well, man, it wasn't me. This has been going on for decades. So, in fact, Trump could go over the top and go, it's Obama's fault. It was a mess what you did at the military base. And it actually isn't Obama either. It's that they just restudied the issue and realized that it was much worse than they originally anticipated, and it goes back decades covering Republican and Democratic presidents. So why in the world do you delay? So I thought, well, maybe they just don't want to pay for it, and they're going to.
That is a part of it.
And sure, I'm sure it is a little part of it, but it's a small part of it, because at some point you got to release the study, and you got to start paying anyway. And then Emily Atkin at the New Republic made a point where I was like, oh, right. So the people who made this chemical are, of course, part of a corporation that could potentially be donors. So that 6-month delay buys them time to prepare their case for the eventual lawsuits, gets them a huge jump start. Now, look, we don't know if there are any memos between Pruitt and those companies yet. By the way, we do know Pruitt is erasing the people he met with. That's a story out today as well in the news. And remember, he built a $43,000 soundproof telephone booth in his office because he didn't want people to find out who he was talking to. So it is a very fair question who he was talking to, but at least that made rational sense. I was like, right, excellent point. Like, what? Because in that 6 months, there's still people having kids in that area, military people, right? And people that we should care about. Look, we should care about everybody equally, but the Republicans and a lot of politicians make a huge deal about how much they care about the veterans and supporting the troops. They know that they're being poisoned in those areas on 126 military facilities, right? And they let them drink the water anyway because they got to give a heads up to their donors. Oh, it's sick, man.
So, look, as you mentioned, this has been an ongoing problem, and there was faulty science to begin with, and then now we have the real data, and we now know why the Trump administration is trying to, or at least tried to, stop the release of this data. So not only do we put our soldiers' lives at risk with preemptive wars or intervening or meddling in other wars that other countries have started, Saudi Arabia and Yemen, for instance, were also risking their lives and their health with dirty water. So tell me something, what's more disrespectful to our troops and to our veterans? Is it quietly kneeling kneeling during the national anthem to protest a serious issue in the country? Or is it more disrespectful to risk their lives in multiple ways?
So I know what some conservatives will be like, oh yeah, like you guys care about the troops.
Yeah, I do actually care about the troops. Because for me, the troops are not props, right? The troops are used and exploited as props by the right wing, right? Support the troops, because in reality, when they say support the troops, it means support the war that we're sending our troops to. So our private contractors can make some money, right? That's what they do. When they say, no, you gotta respect our soldiers and stand for the national anthem, it's basically a dog whistle regarding race relations in the country. That's what it's really about. They're always used as props. People who really care about the troops should be outraged that they've been drinking this contaminated water, which leads to these terrible diseases, cancer, birth defects. This is the kind of stuff that they should be concerned about, but they're not. No one's talking about this.
Well, look, maybe this will get conservatives' attention. Not only increased risk of cancer, but disruption in hormones and the immune system. So, for all the right-wing people that were talking about, hey, I think there's something wrong with the hormones. Yeah, if it's not because people want to turn frogs gay, and it's not, it's not Pepsi, and it's not any of these lunatic conspiracy theories, and it's not on purpose. What it is as usual, a corporation who wanted to make money didn't take enough care. But by the way, also government bureaucrats who then cover it up for different reasons, whether it's to protect the donors and the corporations, or it's to protect their own ass because they don't want people to find out that they'd been screwing up, right? There are logical, real reasons for it, but when you talk, at least it might get the right wing's attention, like, wow, hormone issues, I knew it, that's the real problem. Well, actually, there are sometimes problems, but there's real answers to why, and this is why, and unfortunately in this case, the Trump administration was covering it up. And lastly, back to the troops, the right wing really believes this, and that's why it's amazing to me. They're like, we support the troops, that's why we want to send them to war to die, whereas you guys care about their health care. Yeah, we do. We want them to have health care and to not get cancer and to not die in senseless wars.
Exactly. I don't want them to do multiple deployments to the Middle East so military contractors can make money. I don't want that. I actually want to save their lives and not send them to unnecessary wars, and then also have them come back with mental health issues because they've been deployed so many times, and then deny them adequate health coverage. I mean, that's essentially what's happening to them. So let's stop using our soldiers as props. Let's stop exploiting them and actually take action to care for them, because that's not what's happening on a federal level. And it's honestly disgusting. I mean, first of all, it's disgusting if anyone in the United States, one of the richest countries in the world, is exposed to contaminated drinking water. But apparently this is it's become a pattern. It's become something to expect here in the US.
Far too common. It's way past time that we do something about it. If we could find money for trillions of dollars of tax cuts for the rich, we could find money to actually take care of our troops. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below. Then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.